Colditz Castle lives in infamy as the site of Offlog 4C, an infamous prisoner of war camp for captured enemy officers during the Second World War. The prison is perched on a cliff overlooking the town of Colditz in Saxony, and it was a Sonderlager, a high security prison camp, the only one of its type in Germany. In fact, Hermann Goring would go on to declare Colditz as escape-proof. However, today we look at one of the planned escaped attempts, which pretty much sounds mad. Today we look at the remarkable plan of the Colditz Cock Glider, which was built by British prisoners of war to glide out of the infamous Colditz Castle. Remember to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Coming up with a plan to escape German prisoner of war camps was relatively common during the Second World War, especially with soldiers and officers. The inmates would go stir crazy and would long to quickly get back to their roles in the conflict and fight Nazi Germany. Colditz, however, was slightly different than other prisoner of war camps. In Colditz, the Wehrmacht followed the Geneva Convention, and instead of being executed, those who were attempting to escape would in fact be placed in solitary confinement. The soldiers inside the camps realised that the prisoners of war were meant to escape, and it was their job to simply stop this happening. Prisoners even formed gentlemen's agreements with the guards, such as not to use borrowed tools when trying to escape. In fact, many of the guards there were made of World War I veterans and young soldiers who were not fit enough to go to the front. As Colditz was a high security prison, the Germans organised up to 4 roll calls a day to count the prisoners. If someone was missing, then every police and train station and local member of the Hitler Youth would be used to help recapture them. Prisoners inside the camp would regularly receive Red Cross food parcels, and in fact would sometimes eat better than the guards, as the Wehrmacht soldiers would have to rely on their army rations. The prisoners could use their luxuries for trading, and often would try to obtain Reichsmarks in order to help their escape once outside the Colditz walls. There wasn't much entertainment inside the camp, and in fact the inmates would even organise their own camp Olympics and put on their own plays. Another popular pastime of the prisoners was even to make moonshine alcohol, and sometimes the guards would turn a blind eye to drunken inmates. You can see from this that Colditz was very different to other camps that you become familiar with during the Second World War. Now, although Goring did claim that Colditz was escape-proof, there were between 30 to 36 British and Allied men who would in fact succeed in their attempts to break out. Different methods were used to escape, for example duplicating keys to doors, making copies of maps, and using forged identity papers. MI9, a department of the British War Office who specialised in escape equipment, would communicate in code with the prisoners and smuggle them new ways to escape and care packages sent from families or from fake charities. Inside the camp there would also be a black market, which allowed the prisoners to use items from their parcels to buy information and tools from cooperative guards. Flying ace Douglas Bader even was able to visit a nearby town during his imprisonment, and he took chocolate and other luxuries with him to trade. Of course, there were unsuccessful attempts to escape, some of which even resulted in death, but today we're going to look at the incredible story of the Colditz Cock Glider, an actual plane built by the prisoners to escape from the infamous castle. Following the execution of 50 prisoners who had taken part in the Great Escape, the Allied High Command did not encourage escape attempts from Colditz. However, a plan to build a glider was encouraged as a way of diverting the minds of the prisoners away from the boredom during their imprisonment. It wasn't encouraged, however, to then use this glider to escape, but the prisoners would have different ideas. The idea for the glider came from Lieutenant Tony Rolt, who, even though wasn't an airman, had noticed that the chapel roofline was completely obscured from the views of the German guards. He would realise that the roof would make a good launching point from which a glider could then fly across the River Mulder, which was 60 metres below. The team to construct the glider was headed by Bill Goldfinch and Jack Best, and they were helped by the discovery of a book titled Aircraft Design, which was found in the prison library, which explained the physics and engineering needed, and in fact this book even had detailed diagrams within it. The glider would be assembled by the two and their 12 assistants in the lower attic of the chapel. A 60 feet long runway was also to be constructed using tables, and the glider would be launched using a pulley system based on a falling metal bathtub that was full of concrete. The officers would also build a false wall in order to hide their secret space, where they slowly constructed the glider from parts of stolen wood. They managed to maintain a low profile due to the fact that the Germans became accustomed to looking down for tunnels that escapees were digging, and in fact were not looking for secret workshops. And for the builders, they felt quite safe. They did, however, create a number of lookouts and create a complex electrical alarm system that would warn the builders of approaching guards. More than 30 ribs would be constructed from bed slats, and also any other bits of wood that the POWs could obtain without arousing suspicion. The wing spars would be made from floorboards, and control wires made from electrical wiring found in unused parts of the castle. The glider made was a lightweight 2-seater high-wing monoplane design, having a Mooney-style rudder and square elevators. Its wingspan was 32 feet, and it was almost 20 feet from nose to tail. The construction involved in this project was immense, and to construct an aircraft whilst in prison is an incredible feat of engineering and defiance. Prison sleeping bags were used to skin the glider, and its completed weight was around 240 pounds. Many different tools were also used in the creation of the plan, and the builders also had to make their own tools. Takeoff for the incredible aircraft was scheduled to be in the spring of 1945 during an air raid blackout. This would have given the prisoners enough time to launch the aircraft and escape within the cover of darkness. However, at this time, the sound of Allied guns could be heard, and it was clear that the outcome of the war would result in a German loss, and that the camp would soon be liberated. The British, however, considered that the glider should be available for use in case the SS would arrive at Colditz and massacre the prisoners, as a way of sending a message to the Americans, who were now advancing. When the Americans did liberate the prisoners on the 16th of April 1945, the glider was approaching completion. In a sense, it's a gift really that the Colditz Cock Glider, as it was known, never flew. It was a highly risky operation and could have gone easily wrong. In many films and entertainment produced since the war, the event has been fictionalised. The fate of the glider isn't known, however the castle fell into the zone controlled by the Soviets after the war, who didn't cooperate with handing it over to the British. The only evidence of the glider's completion is a photograph taken by an American soldier, and Goldfinch even kept his drawings, allowing a 1/3 scale model to be constructed, which was eventually launched from the castle roof in 1993. In 1999, a full-scale replica was commissioned and built, and it was successfully test-flown in 2000, with Best, Goldfinch and many other veterans involved in its creation looking on. In 2012, another full-scale replica was flown from Colditz in the same fashion and launched from the chapel roof of the castle. This replica did make it safely across the river and landed in a meadow around 180 metres below the castle, showing that it would have been possible to have escaped using the Colditz Cock Glider. So the Colditz Glider was an incredible feat of engineering, using materials which had to be gathered in complete secrecy. We consider the Great Escape to be a remarkable feat of daring, which had a tragic end. However, flying a gliding aircraft from the top roof of a chapel in Colditz Castle is a remarkable idea. The engineering skill of Goldfinch, Best and their crew was absolutely incredible, and it would have been an amazing story should the glider have flown and successfully made it out of the prison, regarded as unescapable. Once again, thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching.